Namaste, Jai Bharat. One of the most destructive thinking pattern of the world is communism and communism related such theories, implicitly or explicitly. As a matter of fact, the communism, like a virus, had gone into many other so-called isms in a very indirect, implicit manner. But in spite of that, what that it is just implied, the destructive potentiality of communism, even in implied form, is not overlookable. They're very serious. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. There is a spontaneity in communism, and that's based on the fantasy of Marx. It is fantasy of Marx, like many other European speculative philosophies. European philosophy is fundamentally speculative, not experiential. Anyone thinks anything and comes forward with theory in a very coherent and systematic manner. So, why is it? Is that they create divisions. Fundamentally, communism has this drawback of finding differences and divisiveness to obtain contradiction within any existing situations, because their entire theory thrives on contradiction and conflict. Look at the theory of dialectics, which Marx had borrowed from Hegel to create a thesis to, antithesis to, a synthesis, etc. Thesis has to have its opposite as antithesis. The name itself is sufficient, and the opposites contradict, and comes something new. And this is the dream of Marx, rather speculation and romanticized speculation of Marx. That's the synthesis will be a higher thesis, and then there shall be an antithesis, and that goes on until, as per Marx, we reach socialism. And in socialism, since the class distinctions disappear in their own expressions wither away, then the further progress is based on a very trivial kind of a talk, that is criticism, self-criticism, etc., until they reach the highest synthesis, which is the desideratum, that's communism. To all according to his need, and to all according to his want, etc., etc. This is the economic kind of situation. But then their destructiveness begins with their divisivity. They divide society into different classes, and here the contradiction which the desperate need for the theory to progress creates contradiction among human existence. As a matter of fact, people read into differences, they fight among themselves, they don't understand the coexistence, and they can't coexist. These all problems, and the society gets into chaos. These people don't believe in reason. These people, they don't believe in rules and laws. Marx himself, in his 1844 economic and philosophical manuscripts, talk about a theory of a law of inner reason, and he says that the law of inner reason and the objective law should not contradict. The objective law should be one with the law of inner reason, so that a law enforcing agency is not required, and which leads into lawlessness, statelessness, classlessness, and which is actually anarchy. The problem is Marx personally is that he understands man as essentially positive and good, which actually is not the case. Here is where Marx is a great dreamer. He believes in the goodness of man. Very noble. It's a very noble thought, absolutely no doubt about it. But then that is really not the case. His concept of man is a concept of God. And he appreciates Ludwig Feuerbach, who says God is a self-esteem of man. Marx also, in his man, is a esteem of man, which is not reality. These things can't work, and the whole society gets into chaos. and then there will be the new evolved class of communist bourgeoisie, which evolves and exploits the comrades. Complete mess. The whole theory creates complete mess, lawlessness, anarchy, and every person is estranged, gets estranged from his own real self. That's his culture, his identity, his community existence. Everything is lost. He is dreaming of a global existence of man, trans class, trans state, trans whatever possible. So it's one of the biggest destructive theories which the world had ever seen, and they have very successfully infiltrated into all areas of all social institutions and establishments. We shall meet again. Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.